How's it going, everybody? Bryan Alvarez here on Wrestling Observer Live. We are here every day, Monday through Friday, noon Pacific, 3 Eastern, Sundays, 3 Pacific, 6 Eastern, Saturday mornings with Jim Valley, 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 Eastern. And we have a lot to talk about here today. It's Tuesday on this show. You know what that means. Everybody's favorite show, NXT, is on tonight. It's a big episode. Spring breakin'. I thought it was spring breakin', like a burglary, but it's spring breakin', like you're spring breakin' this week. We got a lineup for that. Jerry the King Lawler continues to make progress following a stroke suffered in February. We've got an update on him per Jim Ross, who spoke to him recently. Speaking of NXT, the Dyad, they asked for their release from WWE. They have been given an answer. I'll tell you about that. You know, there's those ratings. We've got SmackDown ratings for you this week. Didn't do a great number, but a lot of competition. And Rampage also did not do a great number, but there was competition and they were preempted. You know what that means. Need a bunch of craziness on the Twitter. And of course we have Raw. Raw was last night. We're going to talk about Raw, all of the things that happened on that show, including the announcement that we have a new belt. Yes. And what a storyline we have for this new belt. So we'll do the full Raw report, talk about all the different segments. Bad Bunny was there as promised, but you know he's a big star, so he showed up at the very last second. But we have another match scheduled for the show in Puerto Rico. And, of course, all of the other news. Oh, and I guess I should probably mention, CM Punk showed up at Raw. Yes. CM Punk showed up at Raw. Well, we'll talk about that today too, won't we? A lot to get into. Text us, 425-780-7566. Brian at WrestlingObserver.com. Back in a moment, Wrestling Observer Live.
It's all about what is the most impactful, right? And as the storylines played out heading into WrestleMania, to me is the most emotionally and storyline driven match on the card, right? And I felt like that needed to be, I think we all felt like that needed to be in that spot. I've said this before when people have, when we talked before about, oh, you put the women in the main event. We didn't put the women in the main event. That's the spot, right? That is the storyline that was driving things to put them in that role. It's not about giving it to them because they're women. It's not about giving it to somebody like, never once did it factor for me. I don't know. People saying, well, tag team championships haven't been in that spot and history making. I didn't even know that, to be honest with you. It's about who talent or talent, nothing else to it. Talent or talent, and whatever storyline is resonating the most and has the most impact, that needs to be the story that's told, I think. And in this case, it was the Usos and Kevin and Sami. She's 26 years old. The growth path that she is on. I say this often to Roman, that he operates storytelling and character-wise at a different level from everybody else. And he does. It's just the continuity of everything he does and the way it all plays out, right? To me, it's at a different level. Rhea's at that level now. She's getting to that level where she sells different, she works different, she looks different, her facials are different. Everything that she does is now just clicking, and it never gaps. Her growth has been unbelievable. And, you know, every time I think, wow, she's really peaking now, I find myself 6 months later going, oh shit, she hadn't touched the surface yet. You know, it's amazing. What I would say to that is, first, to drag things out sounds negative, right? It's not drag things out, it's tell the story, right? And so it's telling the story. Where do you want to go with the story, and how do you want to get there? And I think in the moment you think like, oh my God, I can't believe, right? If you're watching a movie and you thought every scene in the movie was the last scene in the movie, the entire movie, you'd be like, I can't believe they just did that. It was the worst movie ever. And then you go, oh wait, there's more, right? Oh wait, there's more. How much do we weigh that out? every single moment of every single day. Some days when I'm trying to sleep and I can't sleep, it's because I'm weighing that out in my brain, right? And I wish that I could sleep instead of weighing it out in my brain. It's all you think about, it's all you, right? Where if you're going to be good at this, it consumes your every moment of everything you do.
Back in the show, Bryan Alvarez here, Wrestling Observer Live. Mike Sempervive, also of WrestlingObserver.com. May I have a moment, Mike?
Absolutely.
And believe it or not, I'm not going to start by talking about CM Punk. Because, I was gobsmacked. We'll get to that here later. But honestly, to me, the bigger story yesterday is this new belt. Some of you may disagree. That's fine. Maybe I'll be proven to be wrong later. But let me tell you what happened, okay? Then we're going to talk about it. So Triple H came out for a promo on Raw, and he talked about how he reached the highest levels of WWE as a wrestler, but now he's making sure that WWE will be strong for generations to come. Buddy is here to talk about Roman Reigns, the undisputed WWE Universal Champion, coming up on 1,000 days as champion. Says it's incredible, unheard of. He's defended against everybody. After seeing them all for 30 years, I cannot name too many who could hang in the ring with Roman Reigns. But he said Roman did something very smart during those 1,000 days. He negotiated himself into a position where he does not have to defend that title as frequently. And he says, well, I don't blame him for that. And while that's great for him, it's not great for WWE. The fans deserve more. You need more than that, he says. So, a few weeks ago, he talked about the draft, and he said the draft would change WWE at its very core. Because when Roman gets drafted, to whatever brand he gets drafted to, he will take the undisputed title with him, and he will stay there. The other brand will determine a new champion. Saturday, May 27th, the Night of Champions. New World Heavyweight Champion. They've got a new belt. Looks like the big gold NWA belt. A little bit different. Got a big WWE logo in the middle. He says the champion will defend this championship anywhere, anytime, any place, all over the world. He will not have to demand your acknowledgement. He will earn your acknowledgement and will earn the title of the World Heavyweight Champion. So, there's two things here. The other day, I was going on and on about how stupid this draft is and this brand split is. And I had some people giving me blowback. Bryan, you don't get it. It's just all about the ratings. It's all it is. It's just all about the ratings. And, of course, as we mentioned here before, there was a day when you would do a draft and it would do great numbers. But if you look back the last couple of drafts, it doesn't do great numbers at all. It doesn't mean anything, okay? Because at the end of the day, everybody knows that historically, eventually they just go right back to whatever they're doing. And let's be honest, that's probably going to happen here, okay? But this speech that he gave, it's not just the speech. In the speech and throughout the show, they went on and on about how after this draft, these two might not be able to team anymore. These two might be split up. Hunter's exact words were, whatever brand Roman goes to, he's staying there. So, but my point is, it doesn't matter where this ends up, okay? But their intention right now, it's not about popping a rating on Friday and Monday. Obviously, they want to, but that's not what this is about. What this is about is their intention is to go back to a split brand program here, where Raw has X number of guys and ladies, SmackDown the same, and there's very little mixing back and forth. That's their intention. Okay? And we also know that's their intention because we're making another belt. We're making a belt so there will be a belt on Raw and there will be a belt on SmackDown. That tells you that their intention right now is to go back to a hard brand split. Why? It's amazing to me because for the last 8 months, we haven't had a brand split. If you have a hot angle with the Bloodline and Sammy and Kevin, they go to whatever show they want to go to. Well, last night, we saw Raquel and Liv, who were on SmackDown. They're on Raw, so they could do a 6-man. All of the, people go, oh, well, less people get, well, you know what? Sometimes less people do get opportunities. Because when things are hot, you should be capitalizing on that, which is what they did over the last 8 months. The hot acts were on both shows. Yeah, you know what? You didn't see a lot of guys sometimes. But you know what? You saw the hot acts on both shows, and we have evidence. It is the best business WWE has been doing in forever. It's the best ratings WWE has been doing in forever. Like, it's the best. Look at the house show numbers. Look at the big show numbers. This is the best it has been in years and years and years. And we didn't have a brand split, and now we're just going right back to it. And then, on top of that, this belt, okay? I'm sure Mike likes the belt because they didn't bring back the Winged Eagle. I know you like that big gold belt. But you know what this belt is? This belt, this promo that he cut. We've got a champion that nobody can beat. And we decided to allow him to never come to work. But now we are victimized by this. And so to solve this problem, what we're going to do is we're going to make a new belt. A belt for all of you that can't hang with the other guy. And furthermore, the belt that the other guy holds is not a belt, it's 2 belts. Because they had 2 champions and they merged them together. And the decision is not to split the belts again, but now we're creating a bronze medal. You're the 3rd best if you have this new belt. And of course, Lance really believes that one of the reasons it's so hot is because we only have one champion. And that there is this goal for everybody, and you don't have a first place and second place. I don't think that's the main reason that everything has been so successful, but there's probably an aspect of that which is helping, okay? But now, here we are. Now you've got Roman, who is unbeatable still, and he's going to sail past 1,000 days. And now, for all of you nerds that just couldn't hang on the B brand, we have a C belt for you. I was just flabbergasted last night by this whole thing. Yesterday was a day of flabbergastity on my part. I was flabbergasted when CM Punk showed up backstage. I was flabbergasted when they introduced this belt. I was flabbergasted by the way they introduced the belt. I was flabbergasted that they are strongly into, we're back to a total brand split. You will not go brand to brand. It's like, hello? That's all I could think yesterday. Hello? And I'm not the only one. But anyway, that's it. Yeah, I was bamboozled. Flummoxed. Stunned, shocked, surprised for all of you without a large vocabulary. I was all these things.
And you sound a little perturbed right now.
I don't really care. It's just it's ridiculous. I'm perturbed in the sense that I have to go back to watching a brand split, which is never as good as what we had in the last 8 months, but whatever.
The NFL draft is this week. It's probably a little bit of leeching off of that. When they've done these drafts, usually it's in September for the new fall season, and they play up the bit like Fox is getting something special and USA is getting something special. But, Jim Valley has said this before on his show, although it's been in a little different spirit. It's because of the fans, Brian. They deserve more than our inept management, which gave Roman Reigns everything he wanted, and he doesn't have to defend the title,
But the irony is they say the fans deserve more, and their solution is to give them less.
Well, no, they're getting more. They're getting more shiny belts to buy at WWE shops.
Well, sure, but you're getting less. You're getting less of your favorites on each show that you watch.
Can I fast forward through all of this stuff and go, I wonder at the end of this, as we're talking about this in March of next year, Is that going to be Cody's path? Yeah, okay, I won a belt, but you know what? I didn't win that belt. And I'm going to go through the Royal Rumble as a champion if I have to, because you know what? I'm going to make sure I secure my spot, because this time, I'm going to finish the story.
Cody's character
Cody
had
Rhodes.
Zero interest in this belt.
He went from the 3-star general to the 3-belt champion.
Hey, listen, if he's going to win this belt and then next year at WrestleMania we create a triple crown, fine, okay? But that's not what they were indicating here. Back in a moment, Observer Live.
Well, I feel very lucky because not a lot of people get 2 WrestleManias in 6 weeks, but I did. And they're apples and oranges a little bit. Hard to compare them, but they're two of the biggest, proudest nights of my entire life. And they just happen to be just a mere 6 or 8 weeks apart. That night did feel like WrestleMania. Tonight had the happy ending, though. That was nice. And it was with him and in LA and everything else. So it's like, it's different. And I don't have multiple children. Let me preface what I'm about to say with that statement. But I would assume it's like when you have multiple children and you just love them all in different ways, right? So, why? No?
No, I was just itchy.
Okay.
I swear. I swear.
I wanted to direct this question to you, Sammy, because a lot of people, including Kevin Owens, have referred to you as the MVP. And so I want to ask you, for you, how does that make you feel? How validating is that?
Well, it's interesting because I don't know what it is, but I just don't buy into it. I appreciate it, but I've been telling people this a lot lately because people will go like, "Man, you're red hot right now. You're the hottest babyface." So they were saying that in the last few months. I'll just be like, "Am I though?" You know, I just don't like. And anytime my music hits, I expect nothing. And then if I get something, I go, "Oh my God, wow, that's nice. They like me tonight." Like I don't know what it is. I think I've just always approached my entire career this way of like, don't take it for granted, or don't expect anything. And it's your job to like get them to 100 every night, but assume you're starting at 0. And then if you start at 60, you go, "Oh, wow, I only got 40 to go. This is great." But I just mentally, what? Oh, I thought he was going to stop. Were you eating the Snickers?
No, not at the time.
I swear I heard him whispering disparaging comments under his breath.
No, somebody from it was Blake.
Whatever. Anyways, not even important. I don't know what that was. I was like a dog squirrel. All this to say, I assume you never saw that movie, The Dog and Up. You know what I'm talking about. The dog sees a squirrel in the park or whatever. We're getting way off base. My point is, I tend to minimize. I tend to minimize my whatever standing in the fans' eyes or my standing in the company or whatever, because I just don't want to start being the guy that's like, "Have you heard?" I'm about to go into a Braun Strowman impression for whatever reason there, but "You heard my music tonight?"
For whatever reason. I really wonder why.
Yeah, I don't know why. I don't know why. "Do you hear that pop out there? I'm so over. Sorry, Braun. I'm so sorry. Braun, I'm sorry." I don't know, but you get what I'm saying? I just don't want to, I don't play that game. I just, I've approached my entire career as like, well, gotta go to work, gotta go get them. And if they're with me, that's wonderful. And they have been with me, and I appreciate it to no end, really.
Bryan Alvarez here, Wrestling Observer Live. Like Sempervive, also WrestlingObserver.com. Well, if you watched the Filthy Tom Lawler show yesterday, at about the 5:30 Eastern mark is when I started getting texts, and the rest of the show I was just out. You could watch my reaction in real time to all of these messages. And yes, CM Punk went to Raw yesterday. And apparently he was in Florida, and he flew on a flight with some of the wrestlers and writers.
Hey, what do you guys do? I'm a wrestler. Me too. Where do you work? I work for this place, WWE. Nuh-uh. Let me see it. All right, come on.
And he went to the building. And I mean, the first messages I got were people were just like stunned. And I was stunned too. And not only were they stunned, but they were like, he's not even hiding himself. He's like he's out there in plain sight. He's standing in front of Triple H's door right now.
Funny nose and glasses.
Well, I mean, you could like wear a hoodie or, try and be low key, but he was not at all. He was just like right out there. Like, hey, here I am.
It's my town. You came to my town.
And I heard he was standing in front of Hunter's door. And
was
then
he begging for a job? Can you report that?
About 15 minutes later, 20 minutes later, I was told security had him removed. I was like, what? What is going on? Okay. What is going on? And then, it's funny. I'm not going to sit here.
Actually, a lot of it is.
I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I know what happened because I wasn't there. I don't know what happened. But here's the thing. This is also the reason I don't know what happened. There's two very different narratives about what happened when he was there yesterday. Okay. Like when I first started hearing about this, it was not like, oh man. Well, I'll just put it this way. Later, as the day in the afternoon wore on, it was like, oh man, everyone was so happy to see him, and this and that, and like this was totally at odds with what I was hearing live. I mean, totally at odds. And so we do have these varying stories. The one is that he's there. People have no idea why. A lot of people do not want to see this guy, and then he gets removed by security. And then there's the other story. It's like, oh, he showed up, and he was friendly, and everybody just was so happy to see him. And, he's making up with The Miz and this and that. He's making up with him because he said mean things about him. So he's making up with him. And then, but then, both stories oddly end the same way, that security had him removed. It's like, so,
Well, two things can be true, Brian. There could be people there that have worked there for a long time, maybe as far back as like when he was working there, that may have not have wanted to see him, and he may have had some friends there from that time that did. And there's a bunch of other people that just went, hey, is that CM Punk's here? Hey, I never met CM Punk, but I think a lot of things could be true here. But again, the visual of this and how the optic of it is, I guess, you know what? It's left up to whatever you want to feel it is.
Well, I got more. Well, I mean, I don't have a lot more on it than that, but I did talk to people in WWE and in AEW, and I can say that universally, like, everyone's flabbergasted. Like, what is this guy doing? Yeah. What is he doing? And, everybody, including Dave, as he made clear last night on Observer Radio, everybody has a theory about why he did this. And I had so many people asking me, what is your theory as to why he did this? And as God is my witness, I have no idea. I have no earthly idea. I've been trying to figure this out for 24 hours. What's going on here? And I have no answer, and I have no theory, okay? I don't know what's going on. And I've heard everybody's theories, and there's really not a theory where I'm like, okay, well, that makes the most sense of anything. Like, none of this, it just doesn't make any sense to me. And, I don't
know. Pro wrestler worker
I don't want to
sense?
go into various theories, but like,
you don't want to do pro wrestler worker sense?
I've seen some other ones online that are this and that. It's like, come on. On. So all I know is that he was there.
Maybe the only time he could see Paul Heyman.
Well, I mean, he could go to the guy's house. Like, you know what I'm saying? He's not going to get kicked out of Paul's house if he flies to his house.
Or vice versa.
I mean, he can fly places, as we learned yesterday, in fact. Yeah. So, I don't know what's going on, everybody.
Well, here's the thing,
I'll just say my final thing is that, it was just, everyone's just baffled. And people in AEW baffled, like, why did you do this? What are you thinking? And people in WWE actually the same thing, like, why are you doing this? What are you thinking? That's like everyone, like across the board, that was their reaction to this. Why are you doing this? What are you thinking? And everyone thinks there must be some reason for this, but nobody can quite figure out what it is.
Is this the reason? Is this literally the reason? Because it's like I can go see some people, and then whatever anybody takes away from it, they're going to take away from it. No matter what it is, no matter how true it is, no matter, everybody is going to have their theories as to why, and he can just go, you know what? I saw some friends. I went home and saw hockey.
Well, of course that's what he's going to say. But I mean, do you know how many shows have been in Chicago since he left WWE? Do you know how many?
But how many with Vince McMahon being there? Because, again, this seems to be the Bigfoot. Because we talked about this with Vince, too, about how involved is he? And it's like, look, I'm sure he's calling in stuff every week. We talked about Otis and that sort of stuff. Maybe it's far more than that. He was involved in fixing finishes and taking people on and off the show last night. But, you know, with the deal about he talks to Triple H, and I apologize for whoever it was that laid this one out there about, you know, I got to call Vince. I got to make sure it's okay. And then he calls Vince, and it's like, okay, head of security, please ask that man to go. He sued us. Get him out of here. You know, that's also, too, why there are people who brought up, well, didn't Ricky Starks, you know, see Cody Rhodes, and didn't this person go to the Hall of Fame? But it's like, number one, that may be true, but there was not animus between WWE and that person where it was with CM Punk. And two, it's the optic of doing this right now with all of this stuff going on, which is the reason that even if you could do something, you be more clandestine about it or go meet somewhere else later.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard, oh, well, he really wanted to apologize to people. And it's like, well, you don't have to go there. You can call them. Do you know, and I can tell you this, I can tell you this. There are a lot of people that have been friends with CM Punk over the years, a lot of them. And he stopped talking to them, and he still has not talked to them to this day. You could call them. You could text them. You don't need to show up at the building. You don't need to show up in a very, very public manner. So I don't think that that's the reason. And then there are people that say, well, you know, maybe he was trying to get a job. He wasn't trying to get a job.
No, he was not.
Okay?
That's the silliest.
He wasn't there to try to get a job. Because, number one, he has a job, and he has a contract, and he's not just going to show up in full view of everybody and go say, hey, Hunter, can I have a job? So he wasn't there to get a job. I mean, he's trying to get, you know, he wants people to talk about him. Well, dude, and does a day go by where people aren't saying something about CM Punk? It's not like he's fallen out of the news. So I don't believe he showed up just to get people to talk about him. And then, well, some of the other ones. Oh, he's trying to promote the new show. You mean the new show that they haven't even announced yet? And that it's like, except for stuff here on this show and elsewhere, it's like there's been no mention of it. It's just like,
hey,
it's not trying to promote the new show, nor does he need to go to Raw to promote his new AEW show. None of these things make sense.
Tony likes stirring up real life things, right? Remember back when he was saying that and we had MJF and am I going to be out of here or not? That's what CM Punk was doing. He was playing right into one of Tony's favorite things that he liked to do, being a child of the 90s and forums and such.
So anyway, that's the story of that. I don't know what else you want me to say.
No, can we do our Tiffany Stratton preview now?
No.
Because we're going to be celebrating her a lot tomorrow.
Jerry the King Lawler continues to make progress following the stroke he suffered in February.
Interesting transition.
Jim Ross provided an update on the former broadcast partner after speaking with Lawler for an hour. Said that Lawler's voice seemed to get stronger the longer they spoke, and he is going to be undergoing a procedure next week to help with the situation. So, 73-year-old suffered a massive stroke, and hopefully all is looking better for Jerry Lawler.
Man, I said something on here, you know, when all this happened about, you know, Jerry Lawler keeping himself in pretty good shape over the years. People are like, oh, God, he treated his body like crap. Look at all the fast food he ate. He loves drinking Coca-Cola. Like, he was wrestling in his 70s. You know what I mean? No drugs, no alcohol, that sort of stuff. And, like, you know, in ring shape, enough to do what he needed to do. You know, there are far worse ways to live your life than Jerry Lawler's diet. Now, living it just like Jerry Lawler, wouldn't suggest it.
Dyad have been denied their WWE releases. They asked to get out They were told no. However, October 15, 2023, they will be free agents again, and they will see us all on the 16th.
In progress.
I guess, yeah.
Maybe.
Friday Night SmackDown, 2.175 million viewers, lowest total audience since December 16. Second on network cable, 0.54, and down 6.9%. Had a 2 overlapping NBA playoff games. Rampage 371, which of course was a preemption and head-to-head competition. So, got one more thing to say, then we'll do the Raw Report after the break. Observer Live.
They just keep getting bigger. It's weird because it seems like every WrestleMania we feel like this is the biggest. Yeah, I mean, earlier today I'm looking at it like, how do we outdo Dallas? How do you outdo 100,000 people, AT&T Stadium? Well, it's easy. You come to Hollywood, you come to SoFi, you put together the best storylines and the best work of all time for over 2 years, and you come and, you know, put the cherry on top and dominate like I did tonight. What'd you say earlier today? We're in the third inning? Yeah, if this is baseball, we're just in the third inning here, man. There's so much left to do. We've said it for a long time. We're just scratching the surface. I told y'all it had to be a month after we came back in 2020 at SummerSlam. We're going to change the whole game. We're not going to follow suit. We're not going to run it like TikTok and YouTube Shorts. We're going to have to expand you people. We're going to have to open up your attention span. You're going to have to pay attention for longer than 20 seconds, y'all, because that's what we're doing. We're out here making filet mignon. This ain't McDonald's. This isn't Burger King. It's not fast food. We're giving you the good stuff. And I meant it, and I kept my word. A portion of my career has been the most fulfilling. You know, if you would have asked me before we started doing this, I probably would have told you, you know, my work with Make-A-Wish, my work with LLS, you know, the charitable things were the really fulfilling things, a part of this job. But I have to say, being able to dive deep into this thing with Paul, to bring my family along, to lift them up, to put them in a position to showcase their talents, their potential, their superstardom, to where we get all the way to the point where we main event both nights of WrestleMania. I'm challenging anybody. Yeah, you can be a little kid right now. You can be running independence. You see what me and my family done. I challenge you to outdo us. I want somebody to step up. I want somebody to take this ball from us. I want somebody to, you know, take the spotlight from us. Dominate, take the island of relevancy from me. Because if you don't, we're just gonna keep a chokehold on this game. Me and my family, the twins, Solo, the wise man, we're not taking prisoners, man. We're not lying to you. We are the best. This isn't a promo. I'm not, you know, I didn't look in the mirror in the shower and come up with this stuff. This is as real as it gets. And the man I beat tonight, his dad told me that 10 years ago. I'm the greatest of all time. This WrestleMania solidifies it. It's not just me that's lifting up. I'm not the only megastar here anymore. The whole bloodline is. Now, we got some problems, and I felt it tonight. Y'all see, my little social media boy sent out the tweet. My back was against the wall. Well, what's a tribal chief supposed to do, right? Lift his family up, just like I did from the beginning. We're gonna handle some business. We're gonna sort it out. But we've only begun.
Bryan Alvarez here, Wrestling Observer Live. Mike Sempervive, also WrestlingObserver.com. And I hear old Tucker Carlson's out. Is that right?
Yes, he is.
Yeah.
Yes, he is.
I bring it up because that Tucker Carlson did a number on wrestling ratings for years. And so I'm wondering, with no more Tucker Carlson, I wonder if we're going to see a bump some of these cable wrestling shows.
No.
You don't think so?
A lot of those, no, and I'll tell you why. Even though the demographic is the same, a lot of those people that watch wrestling, especially a show like NXT, where they're 50-plus number is unbowed almost no matter what is taking place in the news. If those people were that interested, they would be part of that Fox block that does massive numbers anyway. And, you know, there was a study that came out, or there was some information, and this is going way back now, where they looked at, like, the median age of those shows, and it was, like, in their 70s. So I don't know if it's really going to have that big of an effect, because they're probably going to find somebody along those same talking points and lines that fills that void. But for now, you know, I think the news is going to do what it's going to do on Fox.
Well, we'll have to see. We'll have to see what happens.
Put $1 on it?
I can't afford it.
Oh, you sure?
So, Cody came out for a promo to open up the show. This was before they announced that new belt. And he is approached by Finn Balor. And Finn essentially says, you know, you got beat at WrestleMania because you had no backup. You're going to get killed against Brock because you got no backup. But you know what? I think the Judgment Day could really help you. And Cody respectfully declines. Quite respectfully, in fact. That's not a figure of speech. He respectfully declined. But Finn says, we're going to have to beat your ass for that. And so Cody says, well, I think you think I'm not medically cleared, but I am, so you and I are going to wrestle tonight. We had the Bloodline versus the LWO, and, of course, the Bloodline won. My new favorite thing in WWE is Solo Sikoa's spike out of nowhere. He did it on SmackDown to Riddle. Riddle's hitting the ropes, and he got spiked in the neck. This time here, Cruz came off the top for a coast-to-coast, got it in the neck. I love this finish. And then they 1D'd him and pinned him. And then we had a long storyline throughout the show where the Bloodline does a promo, and Jay says, we are going to win these titles on Friday, and we are dedicating that victory to Roman Reigns. That's what he said. Bianca is going to be facing Io Sky at the pay-per-view. And so Io wants a match with her tonight. I guess non-title or something. But Bayley adds herself and Dakota to the match, makes it a 6-person. Io's not thrilled. But you know what? She never seems much thrilled about anything, does she? So Jay is backstage and he runs into Sami Zayn. And Sami says, I can't believe that you're dedicating this match to Roman. We took your titles. And you're not even doing this rematch for yourself. You're doing it for Roman. He says, we're not losing these titles. But now, what happens when you dedicate this match to Roman and you lose? Whatever it is, not going to be good. And you don't deserve that, he says. Jay wants to know why he cares, and Sami says, because I feel bad. And Jay says, well, don't feel bad about me. We're going to take our titles back Friday. I made my choice. You made yours too.
I'm going to be all right.
Trish promo, where she says, Becky's having a very hard time. That's why she's not here. She's got kids. She's on top. But you know what? I'm also on top, and I got kids, and I'm thriving. Thriving, she says. I had to take poor Becky out of her misery. She should be thanking me. It's a good promo. I thought this was a much better promo than last week. Street Profits versus Shelton and Cedric. Street Profits won. It was just a backdrop for, these men could be split up in the draft, which they might be. We had the announcement of the new title, and then a Judgment Day promo where Damien was asked about Bad Bunny, and he says, if he just wants to come up and promote his backlash, that's fine, but he better not get into... Listen, I don't go to Coachella, he says, and jump up on stage in the middle of a Bad Bunny concert. What's this guy doing in my business? He better not be playing games.
I never thought we'd have a unit with Finn Balor is leading it, and Damien Priest and Dominic Mysterio are by leaps and bounds the thing I want to see the most. I think Priest has been fantastic with
He's great.
Absolutely.
Usos and Solo are backstage, and Jimmy's talking about how excited he is for Friday, and Jay's got his mind elsewhere, and Jimmy says, what's wrong? Jay says, you ever think about what happens if we don't win on Friday? What's going to happen to us? Jimmy says, what are you talking about? Where are you getting this? And Jay says, well, I ran into Sammy. And Jimmy starts flipping out, and Solo has to hold him back.
You ran into Sammy? You talked to Sammy?
Jimmy says, quit talking to that guy. What do you mean if we don't win? We're going to go out there, do what we always do. We're going to win the titles for the Bloodline and the Tribal Chief. And then he storms off. He's all angry. We had Bianca, Liv, and Raquel SmackDown and Raw together against Damage Control, and it was fine. Ended up with Bayley trying to take all the glory. She ends up getting hit with the KOD and pinned. Io's angry. I like what they're doing with Damage Control. Like, they're gonna split them up, but I do like the slow build to that eventual doom. We had an Austin Theory promo. God bless the guy. God bless the guy. I get no respect. There's a new title. It should be around my waist. Hunter says this belt will be earned. If anyone around here has earned it, it's me. I beat John Cena. I'm like, ah.
Ugh.
God, same old, same old.
You want to talk about a belt that really got buried in the creation of a new one? It's Austin Theory's U.S. title. At least Gunther is Gunther holding the IC title.
So Lashley comes out and threatens him, and Austin Theory's big line is, oh, now you're requesting matches? Well, why don't you request one for WrestleMania? So Lashley's angry. Then it got good. They get in this brawl, and Lashley just beats this dude's ass. And then Bronson comes out, and he just appeared out of nowhere, which is quite the magic trick. And they start double-teaming Lashley, and they're beating him down, and Bronson ends up crushing him against the post. Theory hits the A-Town down. They've double-teamed Lashley. But then Bronson runs over Austin Theory, and dude, he crushed this guy with the senton. And then he goes up top, and he crushed him with the big splash, the tsunami, and he posed with the belt afterwards. I thought this brawl was great. This was great. Then we had Ali and Chad.
That belt.
We had Ali and Chad Gable. Chad goes for the Chaos Theory. Ali rolls through, cradles him, pins him. So I guess
110 seconds.
Man, this positivity really pays off for Ali. Sammy is all sad backstage, and Jimmy runs into him and says, I know what you're doing with these mind games. Sammy says, I'm just telling the truth. Jimmy says, the truth is, we will be winning on Friday. And what happens if you lose? Because he says, I was there every time. Every time you kicked in Kevin Owens' head, we were right there with you. And Kevin, he's not going to forget that. He's not forgiving you. He used you to win these belts. And you're going to lose, and he's going to turn on you. And you're going to deserve it. So don't worry about my brother. You should be worrying about yours. And you know what is so great about this storyline is when Kevin and Sammy first won the titles, there was 1 week where they were so happy. They were the best of friends. But every week, something happens. And Kevin's like, what are you doing? I don't get it. Why? They're already at odds. So we have a storyline here where they've been building up forever that the bloodline may split from Roman Reigns. And now they're building up that Kevin and Sammy are having subtle issues. So we are going into a match Friday. It is the rematch of the Usos versus Kevin and Sammy. Don't know who's going to win. Don't know if somebody's going to split. If somebody does split, you don't know which side it's going to be on. I like this. There's 1,000 ways that you could go with this storyline on Friday. We had Finn Balor and Cody. Good match. This crowd loves him some Cody. He got the win with the pedigree and the crossroads. Good wrestling. Seth then comes out in his jammies. He gets in the ring and he goes, what do you fans think about my match with Omos? I'm like, was that announced anywhere except on social media?
SmackDown.
And so he decides he wants to win the belt, and he gets a "You deserve it" chant, whole 9 yards. He buries Roman. We'll have a world title without politics and part-timers, he says. Man, Vince is back, dude. Vince loves storylines where there's outsiders, part-timers. So Omos's music hits. He comes down to the ring. MVP puts over Seth. Says, with all due respect, Omos is going to finish you off. And then Seth says, thank you. This Omos, biggest dude I ever saw in my life. Once-in-a-generation guy. But it's because you were born that way. I'm once in a generation because I made myself that way. I should be afraid of you, but I'm not. I'm going to make your ass famous. I'll give you the match of your life. How nice of Seth. I'm going to give you, Omos, the match of your life. Here in this phony carny business. And then the whole arena will be singing my song.
Telling you, there's a bet going on backstage. Who can have the best match with Omos every month?
You know, I'm not very big. I'm about 38 pounds today. And, you know, every now and then we have these guys in jiu-jitsu that are just absolute giants. Like we had this guy named Tugboat. We called him Tugboat because he worked on a tugboat in Alaska during the summer. And this dude, I mean, he was so jacked. And he had no body fat. And he was just like, he was the scariest dude. And I would have to grapple this guy, okay? And, man, let me tell you something. If I knew that if I had a grappled Tugboat, you know what I was thinking?
What's that?
I was like, I need to choke this guy as fast as possible, or I'm going to get killed. You know what I didn't think?
What's that?
I'm going to give this guy the best role of his life. Not once did I ever think that.
Did you ever work the leg on him?
No. Kevin and Riddle met with Sammy. Kevin goes, "Where have you been all night?" And Sammy says, "I spoke to Jimmy and Jay." And Kevin is stunned. Why do you care what Roman is doing with them? It's too late for them. If they haven't figured out Roman is using them, that's on them. We got to keep these titles on Friday. That's all we need to be worried about. And Sammy's got the sad face, and Kevin storms off. And then I really like this as well. So Riddle says, "You know, Sammy, I know what you're going through." Sammy goes, "What are you talking about?" And Riddle says, "Well, I used to team with Randy, and every week people thought this guy was going to RKO me. But he didn't. You want to know why? Because we were bros. And you and Kevin, you're also bros. And no matter what happens, you're going to be bros." And I was like, this little seed that has been planted here for Randy Orton coming back and RKOing this guy into oblivion. Loved it!
I love the clarity that he gets somehow being around Sammy and Kevin as well, too, where it's goofy, but then we get a little bit more of a philosophical Riddle who has these types of thoughts to offer Sammy. And
then Rey and Damien Priest, where they had a good match, and then Rey goes up top after hitting the 619, and Priest just throws a chair at his face for the DQ. So he lays this guy out. He starts taking apart the announce table. And finally, almost 3 hours late, the big star shows up with a kendo stick. We were just talking about how much these things hurt. And he goes down to the ring, and he destroys poor Damien Priest with his kendo stick. And then, yes, he's challenged him in Puerto Rico, not to a six-man, not to a tag. It is Bad Bunny Damien Priest one-on-one in a street fight. That's the match. Back in a moment, Observer Live.
Man, it's extremely satisfying. Going into WrestleMania 36, I was NXT Women's Champion, and Charlotte had just won the Royal Rumble, and I was like, you know what, if she wants to challenge me, bring it. And unfortunately for me, my first WrestleMania was at a time when the world was shut down. So we had 0 people in attendance. We were at the Performance Center, which is where I had trained every single day for the past 2 to 3 years. And it was the one place that I really didn't want to go to, but at the end of the day, I think Charlotte and I still stole the show that night. So I'm very, very proud of that match. But going out there tonight at WrestleMania 39 in Hollywood, I'm the Royal Rumble winner. I challenged Charlotte Flair for the SmackDown Women's Championship, and I came out victorious this time. It is so extremely satisfying. And I have to give it to Charlotte. She put up a mean fight, and I didn't really expect anything less from her. I know exactly how she is in the ring, and I knew that I had to bring everything that I had. So I did. And now you're looking at the new SmackDown Women's Champion. I think the main thing is I've grown up. I was very, very confident at WrestleMania 36, but I was also very new, and I was still learning who I was as a human being and a professional wrestler. I feel like 3 years ago, I was very immature. My confidence definitely overshone everything. Where now I'm confident, but I also have the skill set to back it up. I've done many, many things here. and I feel like every single little thing has built up to this current moment. I feel like growing up outside of work is one of the main things for me. I've matured so much mentally, and also physically, that I'm a whole different beast these days, and I think a lot of the men here in the WWE can testify to that. I'm here to make history. Growing up in Adelaide, South Australia, I always got told that my dream of coming to the WWE would probably not happen. So just making it here is such an accomplishment, but being the first Grand Slam champion to have those exact championships is so satisfying. I'm so extremely proud of myself and my journey here to the WWE, and then my journey here within the WWE. To be able to accomplish all those historic moments, man, that's the one thing that I strive for, making history. I want my name etched in the history books forever, and I've gone and done that.
Broadcasting Network.
Who's that guy? Anyway, we got NXT tonight. It's a big show. Spring break-in. It's going to be a robbery. We've got Carmelo Hayes versus Grayson Waller for the NXT title. Braun Breaker, Andre Chase. Indy, Tiffany, Roxanne, three-way for the NXT women's title. Cora and Lyra the Bird, the Virgin, and the Fornicator will be facing off as Brooks and Kiana versus Briggs and Henley. Tony D'Angelo will face Pretty Deadly with his partner Stax in a trunk match. And then Oba Femi will make his debut. This could be the last night for a number of talents. Perhaps Braun Breaker, Pretty Deadly, maybe Grayson Waller, or Carmelo if he shockingly would lose that title. I guess it's possible. But there are going to be a few names that are going to be drafted. And I guess we're going to find out who they are Friday and Monday, because that's a draft, right?
Who do you think is going to pick up Dana Brooke?
Oh, yeah, whatever happened to her?
Oh.
A lot of people have been asking whatever happened to them. Yeah, Good Brothers. What happened to Carmella? She vanished off the face of the earth.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of them. But hey, now they'll get more opportunities with two separate brands.
Oh, man, Lacey Evans could actually come back as two separate characters with two different backstories on two different shows.
Sure, one on each show. Why not?
And by saying that, I mean Main Event and Level Up.
Well, anyway, hey, in an hour, Lance Storm's going to be on the show. Lance has a lot he wants to say about both CM Punk and the new World Heavyweight Championship. That's 2 Pacific, 5 Eastern. If you're a video subscriber, it's up afterwards for WrestlingObserver.com subscribers, so check it out. And that's it. Want to thank Mike, as always, callers and listeners over to the studio. We'll talk to you next time, Wrestling Observer Live.